let's call the case.
Good afternoon. Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City proceedings will begin. The board is now in session. Thank you. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Madam Chair, there being no preliminary matters, I call the very first case
All
on the
right.
docket. Hope Cisco and Minye Choi, Lucky Cena Inc., trading as Cena Wine and Liquors, 2448 North Charles Street. This is a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license, an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
Okay, so anyone that has anything to say in support or against, would you all come forward? Everyone's here. And anyone who's going to testify, could we get them sworn in, please?
Yes. Raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
발언하시는데 진실만을 감사합니까? Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. All right, what do we have here?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am not Albert Matriciani. I'm Dana Moore, acting chair tonight because he is away.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, J.U. representing the petitioner, Lucky Cena Incorporation, and Mrs. Cisco and Mrs. Choi.
Mrs. Choi.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Choi does speak in some English, but because she's very nervous, and she requested me that I did retain a court-certified interpreter to help her out.
All right, so why don't we have the interpreter sworn in, please?
What's your name, Steve?
Yang Moo Kim.
So how do you spell that?
Y-O-U-N-G. Space M-O-O. Last name's K-I-M.
This is Korean we're dealing with. Do you swear or affirm to translate from Korean to English and English to Korean to the best of your ability in this
I
hearing?
do.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Yang Moo Kim, as I said.
Okay, thank you. All right, what do we have?
Yes, Mrs. This is a request for a transfer. The petitioner is Lucky Cena Inc., and the location is 2448 North Charles Street.
2448.
Mrs. Cisco, Hope Cisco, will be the 1% shareholder. Mrs. Choi will be the 99% shareholder. She will hold the position of president, secretary, and treasurer, and Mrs. Hope will be the assistant secretary. Mrs. Hope Cisco will be the resident agent licensee. She has lived in Baltimore for 10 years, and she's registered voter, property owner, and a diligent taxpayer for 10 years. And she has no criminal record, no serious traffic record, and she has a very good moral character. She has worked for BB&T Bank for 15 years. And if the board approves, Mrs. Cisco has indicated that she will go to the store as much as possible, at least every Saturday when she's off, and on afternoons after work, time to time. And also, Mrs. Cisco has introduced to Mrs. Choi Mr. Dallas, who is her fiance, who will help Mrs. Choi out as a manager at the store. He will be working there once the board approves and we go to the closing. He'll be working for the store as a manager. He will undergo the alcohol awareness training, and he'll help out Mrs. Choi.
All right, what is his name?
Mr. Robert Dallas,
And that is
Mrs.
Ms.
Cisco's
fiance. Okay.
Yes. And Mrs. Cisco has reviewed the rules and regulations. She's aware of it, and she understands that as a resident agent licensee, she'll have to make sure that all the rules and regulations are abided by, and that all the records, employee records, and inventory invoices all have to be kept at the store and maintained and readily available for the inspector to inspect. And so therefore believe that she is qualified. And going to Mrs. Choi has about 3 years experience working at a liquor store out in California. She does have an address in California right now, but she's actually living in Virginia at her cousin's house right now. So once this closing goes through, she will be getting an apartment in the area, in the neighborhood. She doesn't want to drive too much, so it's a very nice neighborhood, so she'll be moving right into the neighborhood. And once she settles down, she's looking into perhaps investing into a residence, buying a house. or a townhouse there. So, yes, she has no criminal record,
저 점거 사실 없고요.
and she has a good moral character, and she underwent alcohol awareness training to make sure that she is familiar with the rules and regulations for Baltimore City and Maryland, which I'll submit as an exhibit. And also, she has obtained a petition from the community, and also the Charles Village Community Association is in full support of the transfer. And also an MOU has been entered into with the Charles Village Community Association. Mrs. Choi also went to see the Old Goucher Community Association as well. I think Mr. Cross said he was going to be here, but I don't see him today. But he has indicated their support as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just have a couple questions. So currently, her address is Los Angeles, California.
Yes.
That's her permanent
Yes.
address. But you're representing that she lives with her sister in Northern Virginia? Do I have that right?
Cousin. Yes.
Her cousin, a
Yes.
cousin in Northern Virginia. Where in Northern Virginia?
She. Do you know the address?
주소 아세요? 암비텐스.
Sure. So she does not know the address.
기억이 안 나세요?
I have address.
In Fairfax.
Yeah.
I have address here somewhere.
So if this is approved, we would certainly want to have an exact address for her, and really at all times, like where she is now with her cousin, and once, if you're representing that the plan is that she would move not just to Baltimore City, but into Charles Village and be near the location. And was that represented to the community association as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Because it's a little scary, if I'm honest, to grant a license to someone who lives in California.
I understand.
That's truly the definition of absentee.
All her children are in Baltimore.
All of her
and
children are in
yes,
Baltimore?
They're in high school, and it's a long story. It's a very personal story, but she's staying out in the California by herself, but she wants to be with her kids. So she made a decision to relocate to Maryland, and all her family members are living in Virginia and Maryland area.
Mhm.
So she wanted to come back here, and then they were helping her locate a business and
Okay.
establish her here. She got divorced, and
Sure.
it's a long
Sure.
story.
Well, that's helpful. We don't need to have all the details. I mean, all of my children are in Baltimore too, and I kind of like having them close. Okay, and then the plan is that she's going to be the 99% owner. She's going to eventually move to Baltimore. In the meantime, Ms. Hope Cisco is going to be resident agent, and her fiance, it sounds like, is going to be the person doing the day-to-day operations.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. And Ms. Cisco, you're going to just stop in from time to time,
Yes,
as often
that's
as you
correct.
can?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. And you said that there's the support of the Charles Village Civic Association?
Yes.
Full disclosure, I'm a past president of the Charles Village Civic Association. It was so long ago, I don't recall the date that I was the president, but I certainly have had no involvement. And then Old Goucher is also supportive, is
Yes,
that correct?
yes.
Okay, so, all right.
Mrs. Choi met with Mr. Cross and Mrs. Tito, I think. We had several meetings there. Yeah.
Okay, I know that Sandra Sparks is who signed the letter for the
Yes,
Charles Village
Charles Village,
Civic
yes.
Association. All right, anything else that you want to, anyone else that wishes to
Yeah.
speak?
I'm Reginald Park. I'm also on the board of the Charles Village Civic Association, so we support this transfer wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And we've been handed a copy of the agreement, which we're to understand this to be the memorandum of understanding, the
Yes.
agreement
Yes.
between the Charles Village Civic Association and the eventual owner of Cena Wine and Liquors, is that correct?
Yes.
And you all understand that this would be part of the license if the
Fully
transfer
understand.
is granted. And, okay, thank you. And the issuance of the license would be conditional on the following and adhering to the memorandum of understanding?
Yes, my client fully understands that.
Okay. All right. All right. Other commissioners have questions?
Just one, in reference to the MOU, number 9, it's a amendment. This agreement may be modified or amended if in writing and signed by the parties to here too. Now, I think we just had a discussion that memos cannot be ratified just
Right.
say
We-
so. There's a set policy for when the memo can
Yeah.
be ratified.
I'll let you handle that.
No, you the lawyers.
Oh,
You
okay,
lawyers have-
well, we've gotten an advice from the Attorney General's office that memorandums of understanding can't just be just cannot be revised by the parties. They need to come back to the liquor board and modified in a public hearing process. So although the parties might feel that an amendment is appropriate, it would need to come back to this board before it could be approved.
Yes, what I will do is actually there were 6 originals executed, so I'll make the amendment to the, handwritten amendment to the MOU and get it initialed by the Ms. Sparks and also the parties.
Okay, all right?
Oh,
I just have one comment, which is, Mr. Yu, once your client actually moves to the area, can you please just send a letter to
Yes.
the Liquor Commission so that we can confirm that? Thank you.
I will, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, thoughts? Okay. All right, I'll start. So based on the representations that have been made this afternoon, the documents that have been provided, the letter that's been submitted on behalf of the Charlesville Civic Association, the testimony that we've heard, and specifically the memorandum of understanding, I support the issuance of the license, and the issuance will be conditional on substantial compliance of the applicant with the memorandum of understanding, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
준수할 것을 조건부로 해서 승인합니다.
I would concur, and
자기도 동의한다고 얘기했어요.
I lost my thought. I'm sorry. It happens all the time. I would concur. Wish you the best of luck,
자기도
and
동의하면서 행운이 있길 빈다고 얘기합니다.
please feel free to use the staff here at the Liquor Commission for any questions, concerns, because we don't want to see you in a violation docket.
위에서 모든 규정을 위반하지 않기를 바랍니다.
Thank you.
Also, I would concur with the correction made for number 6. I think they want number 6 excluded from the MOU. And number 9 also has to be excluded based on the language. Those two things change or extracted from the MOU, I agree also.
So number 6 should be excluded altogether?
Number
I think
6.
that's what you said, didn't you?
It's actually number 9,
Number 9.
which is the language regarding making amendments.
개정 부분에 대한
So what I'll include is writing and signed by the parties here to subject to the liquor board's approval. Would that be sufficient, or should I just take it out altogether? I'll follow the board's recommendation.
Before I vote, clarity.
내가 더
So that's, maybe I can clarify.
Okay.
I thought I heard the council say that they wanted to exclude number 6 from the MOU. Was that an error on my part?
I believe so. I think
Okay,
number
it was.
6 is
Okay,
fine.
then disregard that.
그럼
Just with the
무시해달라고.
change for number 9.
Number 9만
That in place, I agree.
So striking number 9.
Strike.
Striking number 9.
없애는 거를 지금 얘기를 했어요. 보드 멤버가.
Yes, I will.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Best of luck to you. Yep.
Mr. Yu,
Oh, yeah. Did you?
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, alcohol awareness certification. Exhibit number 2, letter of support from Charles Village Civic Association dated 6/13/2017. Exhibit 3, petition of support. Board Exhibit 1, MOU between Charles Village Civic Association and applicants. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Did you need to see them? No. No, okay, all right. So ready to call the next case?
Valerie Burke and Deborah Guston, The Hanger LLC, trading as The Hanger, 6500 St. Helena Avenue. This is a Class BD7, a beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
Good evening for the first time, Madam Chairwoman. For the record, Frank Boozer on behalf of the applicants and the Hanger LLC. I apologize.
And Becky Witt on behalf of the St. Helena Community Association.
Okay, thank you. So, do we have all the witnesses who would testify? And I understood there was a motion that was to be made at some point, or,
Well, there was a motion to postpone, but that was denied already. But I'll get into that a little bit more after the applicants present their case, I think.
okay. Well, if there's going to be a motion to postpone or a motion to renew the motion to postpone, I would rather hear it now. But that's up to you. I don't know that there is one, but,
Well, no, the community members are ready to testify, but there are some procedural things related to the application that I'll bring up during my part of the testimony.
okay, all right, we're ready to proceed then.
Very well.
Could all of the witnesses please raise their right hand? And you need to come on up and stand here and be sworn in.
Raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. And what is,
I'm the seller of, and I didn't know if I'm supposed to come up or not, or do I?
I wasn't
allowed
going to
to sit?
call her as a witness if she would like to sit in the back. I think that would be fine. I'm not
you
sure. Some
decide,
witness widths.
who do you represent?
The buyers.
You represent the buyers,
yes,
and the seller is just here sort of loose. And,
Correct.
okay.
Ma'am, what's your name, though? You're on the record now, so I need you.
Could you come forward, ma'am? Please come forward and then speak into the microphone and just give us your name.
Mary Toulis, MERRI TOULAS.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, what do we have?
This is the application for transfer of a BD7 license. My client, Ms. Burke here, would be the main applicant on behalf of the Hanger LLC, is purchasing the property and the business from, of course, we just met seller right here. That being said, I'd like to go straight into the testimony and have her give you, the board, a simple idea of her vision for this project,
Okay.
why she's doing it, what she wants to do. Now, Ms. Burke, can you say your name for the record, please?
Valerie Dornberg.
Okay, and Ms.
You
Burke,
need to come over and speak into the
I'm sorry.
microphone.
you're actually from this area of town, is that correct?
Dundalk, yes.
Okay, grew up there your entire life, is that correct?
Most of my life.
Okay. And tell the board what experience you have in the sale of alcoholic beverages and/or the restaurant business.
I've worked in the restaurant and the liquor business for 15-plus years.
Okay. Ever had any problems with any boards of any kind or any administrative agencies during that time?
No.
And as we told the board a minute ago, you are purchasing the license and/or business for $55,000 in this case, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and separately, you're purchasing the real estate involved in this, is that correct?
Yes.
Tell the board why you want to invest in this project.
Well, I've always wanted to own a bar restaurant, and at that time, I wanted to purchase another piece of property, and I came across this, and it needs a lot of work and a lot of love, and would actually fix up the neighborhood. And me and my partner decided that we would do that. You know, I want to add to it, to make it a restaurant bar, just not a bar.
And it's my understanding that you're also going to invest a substantial amount of money into the project, is that correct? Above and beyond the purchase price of the business and the property. Do you want to explain to the board how much that's going to be and what your idea for that is?
Yes, at this point, I believe I have an additional budget that I would like to stick to, but I don't, that's an assumption. I want to buy it, I want to own it, and I don't want any overhead. I'd like to own the business. And what I'd like to do is put $110,000 extra of my savings into the building and bring it up to date.
And part of that initial capital investment will be for the building of a brand-new kitchen facility, is that
Yes,
correct?
I need, right now, it has a toaster oven, and I can't run a business with a toaster oven.
So you want
I
to change
wanna-
your BD7 license, we discussed this.
Yes.
Which has no requirement for food service, you want to actually
I
add
wanna
a
add-
full-service kitchen, and anytime that alcohol will be served at the restaurant or bar, the kitchen would also be available, is that correct?
Yes.
That's gonna cost you about $110,000 to do, is that correct?
Well, I'm sure I'm gonna go over budget, but that's my budget, plus the expense of the purchase.
And you will be there at all times, is that correct? I mean, you're going to be
Pretty
running
much,
and
yeah.
operating the restaurant.
Absolutely.
And you understand the business now, there's a licensed premises, which is, I'll call the bar and restaurant area. That's not going to change, right? The size of the bar will still just be the same, is that correct? You're adding on the kitchen, is that right?
I'm adding on and
Okay.
just putting in new bathrooms and new things that it doesn't have. It doesn't have,
Okay. And you and I had a chance about a week ago, a little over a week ago, to meet with the community association, is that correct?
yes,
And we had what I would call, if you would agree, maybe a fruitful discussion with them, is that correct?
yes.
And per your request, I drafted and sent over to the Community Law Center, which is their representatives, a memorandum of understanding, just right after our meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, have you ever gotten any response whatsoever from the community here?
Not at this minute.
And of course, the application that we both sat down and filled out, when we initially filed in this case, everything's still true and correct
Yes.
in that application. And what are your hours of operation? I know you talked about maybe doing a breakfast crowd later, but what are your normal
I
hours
just
of
want to
operation?
start out at this moment to 11 to 2 and see, you know,
What do you mean 11 to 2, 11 a.m. to 2
11 a.m.
p.m.?
to 2 p.m.
That you'll be
11
serving lunch and dinner the
Yeah.
whole time that the restaurant's open, is that correct?
Well, he wants to do, we want to both do breakfast at night and stuff like that. We'll see.
Wait. So the hours that you are thinking about as you stand here right now, you would open at 11 a.m.
Yes,
and close at 2 p.m.
yes.
2 a.m.
2 a.m., I'm sorry. 2 a.m.
Okay.
And you're willing to work with the community in any way possible? You got their contact information and emails and telephone numbers and everything
I got their
after our
phone
meeting?
numbers.
Right. That is all the questions I'm sure I want to have at this time with the witness.
Okay. Ms. Wood, do you have any questions?
I do. Have you applied for a continuation of a use permit to use that property as a tavern, do you know?
I have.
You haven't?
I'm not sure I did. I'm not really sure.
Okay. And have you applied for any permits to expand the building?
Yes.
You have applied for permits to expand the building?
Yes.
When did you do that?
Our architect already submitted some things into draws and,
To the city?
yes.
Okay. And when did you submit the application to the liquor board for this transfer?
I'm going to object.
Remember?
The application speaks for itself. I don't see the point. of the question.
Overruled.
Do you remember roughly like the month that you submitted it?
We were supposed to settle on this property in March 1st. So it had to have been prior to March 1st.
Okay, so sometime in January or February? Of
Yes,
this-
I believe it was February.
Okay, great. And when did you contact the community, if at all?
I was not known anything about a community until I was told that I had a hearing with the community, because I've never purchased a building or a license like this in my life. So I didn't know that I didn't get a list of rules, so I didn't know who to ask or what to do.
Okay,
No, I put an offer in on the building, they accepted it, and I just thought I had to get a liquor license and go through the steps. I didn't know I had to ask if it was okay if I purchased the property.
okay, so then you ended up meeting with some members of the community?
Yes, last week. Last
Okay.
week.
Do you recognize this drawing?
Yes.
Yes, so this is, can you describe what it is?
Well, I want to add on 2,200 square feet this way, so I can put it in it has no kitchen, but I want to put in a standard kitchen. You know, I wanna, you know, and I wanna redo, I wanna put new bathrooms, and I wanna redo everything. And nothing in this building is salvageable. If you go in there on a rainy day, it rains through the roof. Nothing in this building, other than the concrete walls, at this point is salvageable.
Okay. So I'm gonna submit this
And the land.
drawing that is of the proposed expansion, which includes the kitchen and bathrooms,
Yes.
correct? Okay. So I have a few copies.
Okay, we're gonna get that more. Is this,
That's actually
all the-
our architect's drawing
Yeah.
we provided to
Yeah,
Community
there's a
Law Center
better
in
one.
anticipation of our meeting.
There's a
Pretty
better
small.
one.
Only one person at a time, okay?
Okay.
there's four copies of one thing and then one page of another.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, this is the one that you were talking about, correct?
Yes,
So
yes,
there's,
and it goes this way, yes.
so there's also a floor plan of what it will look like once the expansion is done, according to what your architect has drawn up for you.
Yes.
That's what this is? Okay, so I'll also submit that. I have more copies of it, but I can't find them right now. Oh, wait. No. Sorry, I just have the one copy of this second exhibit.
I'm
which is
sorry.
also- it's from the applicants. It's their floor plan of what they're requesting from the community. So, let's see. So this floor plan was not submitted with the application, correct? This expansion and this new set of tables and that kind of thing, that wasn't submitted with your application, correct?
When I first put in the offer,
When you submitted your application for the transfer of the liquor license to the liquor board, you didn't include these drawings.
at the time, the drawings were not finished.
Okay, so the drawings that are with the application don't match these drawings.
I needed to get an approval, like them to accept my offer before I was going to cough up the money to get these drawings. They were very expensive. And if I put the money out and then they say they didn't want my offer, I would be out $9,000.
Oh, okay, you do have copies.
Okay, so when you first submitted the application to the liquor board, you applied for a transfer of ownership, but not an expansion of the premises.
I
Is that
understand
correct?
this point. Ms. Witt's going to ask her to draw a legal conclusion as to what
Well-
expansion of premises means, and she's obviously not equipped to do that. I'm equipped to speak at length regarding that issue, but my client obviously is not. She's not an attorney.
If we just
Well,
look at the first page.
Are we really gonna argue over the word expansion? Doesn't that just
Ms. Witt's
means
going
to
argue that
increase?
Kitchen expansion is expansion of premises.
I don't understand why that's objectionable.
She's asking my client to draw a conclusion, a
Well,
legal conclusion.
she's
as
asking
to-
your client, what is her plan? And I think that this board needs to hear what the plans are,
I'll
So
withdraw,
I'll- so-
my objection, then let her ask.
because I'm gonna overrule it, so it's withdrawn. Okay.
So when you first submitted your request to the liquor board to transfer ownership, you did not also submit a request to expand the building,
I
correct?
should have. I believe I did.
But did you or did you not?
I believe that at the time that I went and said, you know, I want to purchase this, and we spoke, that my intentions with the building was to renovate it and make it bigger. I didn't get my first, my initial plan was to put a roof, extra floor. It was out of budget. So I recanted and kept it to a one level.
Okay. So what is the plan for parking at this establishment?
At this time, the architects are drawing up, I will have 2 handicap parking spots, as well as, I believe, what we measured, it could be 6 to 7 extra additional, because where it is grass, that will have to go, we're gonna have to make it into more of a parking lot, because it's just a lot of grass there, so.
And are you aware of any history of issues with crime at this location at all?
No, I don't live in that neighborhood. I have a relative that lives in that neighborhood,
Okay.
and,
Okay, so do you
They
have
never-
any, so, sorry that I
they
interrupted
really
you.
never said there was, a severe, and I've Googled the neighborhood,
Mhm,
and it didn't say it was a lot of crime.
mhm.
If you Google it, doesn't say that it's like a lot of crime. There was one incident a couple months ago, but they're saying it had nothing to do with the neighborhood and,
Okay, so do you have any kind of security plan, especially kind of later at night when there might be issues?
well, I'm putting a security system in it, and it goes right to all of our phones.
Okay.
Like, we
Do you
can,
mean, sorry, go ahead.
like, it's an app that goes right to our phones, where we can look at all times and around the premises, and, may I just say that our main meeting with the community centers, that was all they wanted to talk about, is the neighborhood.
Mhm.
And did I know that there was crime, but it's not posting crime.
Mhm, okay.
So is there like this severe crime in that neighborhood?
I don't think I can answer that question. But, okay, so my last question is about plans for trash and a dumpster. What's your plan for dealing with issues of trash around the building, on the property, and how will trash be managed?
Well taken care of, because I'm definitely a clean freak. So it will be far away from the building, and it will be secure, and everything will be fine.
Okay. All right, those are all my questions.
Let me ask a few questions.
Sure.
Ms. Witt brought up the issues of trash, potential for crime, and parking.
Excuse
And in
me.
fact, in our meeting last week with the Community Association, did we not discuss those three matters at length with the Community Association?
Yes.
Okay, and we came to, I would say, an understanding with one another, which was placed in a memorandum of understanding, which was emailed to Ms. Witt's office, which was never responded to. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have. Actually, I do have one very important question. In the expansion of premises, the actual seating area where patrons will be served alcoholic beverages will not be changing. Is that correct? That's not getting any bigger, right? You're just putting on the kitchen. Is
No.
that correct?
No, yeah, the bar size, actually, matter of fact, the bar size will be a little bit smaller, maybe. Because I really want tables. I want it to be like a restaurant bar. I don't want just a bar.
That's all the questions I have, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay. How many seats are in there right now?
He did, right now, at this time, at that bar, it's a weird shaped bar, I believe there's like maybe 30 seats and like a big pool table, and like you have to go down the dark hallway to go to the bathroom. It's just, it's odd right now.
So your plan is to acquire the property, acquire the business, you're going to freshen up the building, tighten it up, put on a roof. It sounds like your plan is to get down to the studs and then rebuild
Yep.
the property.
Pretty much, I'm gonna keep my four walls. I'm gonna expand this way.
I don't know what, when you say this way, that doesn't,
I'm expanding an addition, 22 feet.
so you're going to add an addition?
Yes.
And your original plan was to actually add another floor?
I was.
And you found that cost prohibitive?
Yes.
So now you're just going to bump out
Yes.
and
'cause,
make it bigger that way?
After all the contractors looked at the roof, it's a done, it's shut. It has.
So you
there's
need a
no
new
life.
roof?
It's getting a new roof, and we figured while it was already open, we could put new rafters and do a second floor. And it just, the city wants to put in, I have to put in a new pipe for sprinkler systems, and I just didn't want to spend the extra cost.
Okay, so when it's all said and done, how many seats will be in the space?
I believe it should hold 70 people.
All right, and currently it holds maybe 30-something.
30, yeah, it's about 30 seats.
So it's going to be bigger?
It's gonna be bigger,
Okay, and better.
better.
And you say that you've already applied for the permits?
Yes.
And I'm going to defer to Commissioner Jones, because he, I'm sure, will have lots of questions on permits, so I'm going to let him handle that.
Okay.
I looked at your application, and the application does not reference any plan to expand. You're aware of that?
No, I'm not.
Who did the application? Did you do this by yourself and then you got counsel?
No, we did it that day.
What do you
When I-
mean you did it
I
that
can answer, we
day?
did it together. She,
Yeah.
with my assistance, with my legal advice, that the fact that the area in which alcoholic beverages were being served would not be expanded, therefore it is not an expansion of premises.
And you've, okay. So people that sit at tables, they don't get to drink?
No, they can drink. It's just that it's a restaurant bar, more of a restaurant bar than it is just
A bar.
with
Right,
no
because right now,
food.
there's a bar and people sit around the bar, you know, the bar.
Right, the bar.
And they drink.
And they drink.
And your plan is to bump out, to make it a bigger,
To be more like a family friendly.
Like a
if you go
family-
to a restaurant, it's family at 10, and grandpa wants to have a drink and,
Grandpa doesn't drink.
Hey, Commissioner, I just want to make clear, because I just want to make the plan clear. The reason that they're able to have more seating, again, the premises in which alcohol is served is not changing. That will not be bumped out. That will not be moved. That square footage will not be expanding. You are removing the pool tables and other unsightly gaming devices that might be there and putting tables in there because you want it to be a family restaurant. You're getting rid of that kind of thing. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's
Okay,
like
now
a
we
huge
can't have it both
restaurant.
ways because her testimony has been that she's going to bump out like 20 feet. She's
The
going to
kitchen.
expand
Make
The kitchen is
20
on the
feet.
back.
So just the kitchen,
kitchen.
not the dining area.
No, I don't have the room for that. I
Okay.
only have a room to put in a kitchen. And after doing all the measurements with all the supplies that you need about that. That's what the architect said I would need to put a state-of-the-art. I hope it's not the state-of-the-art kitchen, but a great kitchen.
Okay. And can you tell us what you've done to let me ask you this. Where do you live in relation to
I
this
live
site?
about 8 minutes away, but I live further down Wise Avenue, past Patapsco High School.
But you're not so familiar with the neighborhood.
I'm familiar with the neighborhood because I worked on Broning Highway for years, and that's right there, Broning Highway, off
Okay.
of Broning
All
Highway.
right, where did you work?
I worked at Amazon. I worked for, when I was young, I worked at the truck stop on O'Donnell Street for 12 years. And then I went bar.
When were you young? Because I don't know. I mean, I'm asking, like, how many years ago was that?
I'm not as young as you think I am, so, yeah.
I mean, no,
when I
I'm just trying to
turned
get some
19,
reference.
As soon as I graduated high school, that's where I went. I worked at truck stop for 13 to 14 years.
Okay.
And then I went into the bar restaurant business after that.
Okay, and then at some point you switched over and you worked at Amazon. Is that where you are now?
I worked for Amazon just for a little while, just to try it, management stuff. I didn't like it. But I just was finding myself. And this is what
Well, if you can't find yourself at Amazon, I don't know.
Oh,
where
I
you
know,
can-
but I thought a manager's position, I'd like it, and it wasn't for me.
Where do you work now?
Right now, I'm working for my husband part-time.
And what does that
He
mean?
owns a construction
Okay.
company.
And you mentioned at the beginning of your testimony that you and your partner are going into this. Who is your partner?
Well, Deborah Gustin is my partner, and
Okay.
so
I'll be
is-
calling her briefly.
Oh, okay,
And-
okay,
and Donald Mathis.
okay. All right, let me see if the other commissioners have
Yeah,
questions.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
Ms. Burke, the drawing you submitted with your application, is that the current layout of the bar?
What it looks like right now? No.
So this is not, this handwritten description is not what,
This
I
one
think
right
we're
here?
looking at two different documents.
yeah,
here.
that's what I think.
Oh,
This
I'm
one, let me
sorry.
take this out for you.
I'm sorry.
This one, is that the one that, is that how it looks currently? There, take a look.
Is this what it looks like?
Generally speaking.
It really just looks like this. Oh, wait a minute. It looks like this without this line.
Who provided that document?
This,
The- Who submitted that document on your behalf? Where did it come from?
Architect.
Okay, is that how it currently looks now?
No, it looks like this.
Okay, all right, I don't know what that means.
Indicating she's
Means
cutting off
There's
the.
no wall. Here's the 22 feet that
Okay.
I want to add.
All right, so I think we're conflating two issues out of the gate, to be candid. I think we're talking about a liquor license, and then we're talking about expansion. So let me ask you this. Assuming that you get a liquor license approved today, would you be willing to come back in a different hearing for an expansion or alteration if it's required?
Sure.
Okay. And let me make sure I understand. You are actually investing money in this bar that has not been, in your words, not maintained to your, okay. And if I'm not mistaken, your testimony is about $110,000 that you're planning to invest, if not more potentially?
Yes.
Okay. And is it not true that the current seller can sell this to anyone he or she chooses to sell it to? So assuming we deny your license today, that license could be sold to anyone?
Anybody.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
The use permit on the property, will that change? Based on your on your demolition and reconstruction, will the use permit on that property change?
No,
Okay.
other than more food.
Your architect, he's the one that made the drawings based on how you say you want the property to be presented.
Yes.
You know what would have happened if your architect was here? He could have made this whole process simple. Because the drawings, I'm assuming that you submitted, that he submitted for you, that includes the design, the finished design of the floor plan.
Yes.
Also, you also submitted permits or application for permits to do construction work, reconstruction work, rehab work. That would also have been shown, he could explain that to us also if he had been here. And I'm gathering, because nobody didn't say anything about going to the zoning board, that what you're doing at that location is acceptable. Because if it wasn't, some other things would have been put in place.
Yes.
So, and I'm looking at this stuff, and you say, we're dealing with a transfer. That's what we're dealing with, transfer, whether or not the license can be transferred from one individual to another. And that's what I'm really dealing with here today. Because all the city personnel that are needed will be doing inspections of that property to certify that you're doing everything correct.
Yes.
Now, if the community has a problem with the finished product, then that's another hearing, I believe. But you're not changing anything. other
I'm just
than-
making it.
No, I'm talking about the use. I'm not talking
No.
about your bump outs. I'm not talking about how you rearranging
You
the
mean
seats.
aesthetically what it's
I'm not
gonna look
talking
like
about
on the
let me speak.
outside?
I'm not talking about the bar that you're making smaller. I'm not talking about the kitchen that you're making bigger. I'm not talking about the seating arrangements that you are adjusting. I'm talking about the use. The use permit will still be the same. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you're not changing the use, it'll be the same purpose. Right, okay. Does that inspire,
I don't have
do
a
these
question
questions
related.
inspire other questions? Okay,
All right.
all right. So let's talk just a little bit about the plan. You're gonna, if this transfer is approved, your plan, you're gonna operate 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Are you gonna be the person that's actually on site, running the business, making sure, everything goes
Smooth.
very
and
well? Yeah, that would be you.
Me, yes.
And your partner, who we're gonna hear from momentarily, will she be involved as well?
Evenings,
Evenings, okay.
you know.
That'd be Ms. Guston.
It is a bit of a, as if without putting words in Ms. Guston's mouth, a bit of a inflated resident agent type job. She will, of course, be on premises and be available and helping more than some resident agents are, but her job will not be primarily running and operating the business.
Okay, all right, any other questions for Ms. Burke? All right, you have other witnesses?
Just one question. Is it your understanding that, that It's my understanding that these liquor applications are reviewed and potentially approved by zoning before they are docketed. Is that your understanding? Do you know?
Yes.
It is, okay. Thank you.
And I apologize, Commissioner Greenfield, I actually had someone go down and pull the old zoning card, which I
Right.
believe is
Saw
attached to
that.
the application, and you'll see it's from long before I was born. I think it's from the 1950s.
It's like 1947.
47, right, it's,
I think all of us can say it was before we were born.
Okay.
Almost all of us. So, okay. So,
That
Ms.
being said, Madam Chairman, I'd like to call,
Well, let me make one correction, please, before you move forward.
Please.
Although this card may have a date and show a use, who's to say that this property didn't become vacant at one time or another, and that use was lost?
I would
So
prof, I,
sometimes you can't depend on these cards.
I would proffer to the board that if you were to refer to Mr. Acris's file, that the board has been reviewing this, and they have seen that it has been open and operating as far as the board is concerned.
Very good.
Commissioner Acris and I had that discussion before filing the application card, just to make sure. I will call Mrs.
Right,
Guston.
could
Mrs.
you-
Guston, you've been sworn in, is that correct?
Yep, could she come up to the microphone, please? Thank you.
State your name again for the record, please.
My name is Deborah Guston.
And Ms. Guston, what is your role in this business?
Helping a dream come true for a young lady.
And do you have any experience in the restaurant industry of any kind?
A little bit, but it's been in my prior younger years when I was involved with that. I was in the music industry. I had my own little business as far as DJing went. I'm recently retired from a craft store. I was a department manager there for 10 years. My husband works for the state. Basically, between he and I, we're living in Baltimore City. And I just, various different jobs, and I'm a grandmother of 2 children, a 4-year-old and a 15-year-old.
So suffice to say, you're doing this because you want to help out your friend, is that correct?
Yes, I've met Valerie quite a few years ago, and I met her actually through another establishment she worked for, and she's a very personable young lady, knows everybody that walks through the door, and she's very hospitable with them. Her reputation was missed when she decided to leave the business and started her own. So as far as her being an asset to the community, I think it would be well worth the while to look into her and her personality.
That's all the questions I have for the witness.
What do you mean it would be worthwhile to look into her and her personality? I don't know
She's
what
a
you're
sweetheart.
saying.
She's a sweet, I'm just talking about her character,
Mhm.
and she's an adorable young lady. She's a very hardworking individual. She helped my husband and I close down a house, and she's able to run, people in a nice way to get them motivated and to help out, working different tasks and stuff. The kitchen she wants to establish, she wants to bring in a qualified cook, chef. So I think, everything that she talks about, she undermines her abilities. She doesn't speak on her own behalf as eloquently as she could. She's very modest. But I think, if she is able to obtain the license in the business, it would be an asset to the community.
And how long have you known her?
I've known her 5 years.
5 years. And which craft store did you work for?
Michael's.
Which?
Frank's, Michael's, because I worked at Frank's for another 5 years.
Okay, and you just recently left Michael's, or
I retired. I was injured.
how
so,
long ago?
2 years ago.
Okay. I'm just making sure you're not the woman who helped me create my granddaughter's hat for Halloween, because you look familiar. So if it was 2 years ago, I don't need to ask you which location.
Okay.
So there you go. So 5 years ago, you're speaking on her behalf because you want to help her make her dreams come true. Personable, good motivator. You mentioned that you knew her from another business where she worked. Where was it that she was working?
Valley View Inn.
Okay.
And how many years did you work there?
Oh, you can't ask her questions. Sorry.
She worked there over 10 years.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Exact number, I'm sorry.
And your plan for the business, you'll be there from time to time, or no?
Fill in, or,
As needed?
Mhm.
Okay.
And I'm sure it's going to be computers, and I'm pretty well versed on computers, so
Okay. Do you plan to get the alcohol service training?
I'm sure. this is all new to me too, so if I have to, I must.
Okay, so I just want to step outside of the questioning. Both of you were saying it's all new, not familiar, you're going to kind of learn as you go. And I think we have gotten very accustomed to strongly advising people, if this transfer is approved, please use the liquor board as a resource and ask questions and get to know what it is that you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. Because the last thing that we would want is for you to come in what we call our afternoon docket, which is when we hear violations. So it's great, you're admitting you don't know a whole lot, but you're going to learn.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Those are all the questions that I have.
I would just underscore what the chair said, which is you have an engaged community, assuming this transfer goes through, which is a good thing, having an engaged community. So, you know, you're held to a high standard. It's a privilege, not a right. And so we absolutely encourage you, in fact, require you to make sure you're up to speed on the rules and regulations, from whom you buy the alcohol from you know, the precautions to serving a minor. So this is something, this isn't kind of, as the chair said, it's nice that you're starting this, but please know that you have some significant responsibilities, and with an engaged community, assuming this is transferred, you know, folks are going to be watching you.
I'm not taking this lightly, and I have served alcohol prior to my employment of different establishments, and I understand the rules about serving minors and the IDs and stuff. So.
Okay.
But it's going to be more detailed now, more up to date with the rules and regulations, because that was a long time ago.
Okay, Commissioner.
That would be the petitioner's case.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a few questions, I guess, not questions, but an argument to make, I guess, about the legitimacy of the license itself. And that will be a quick one. It's just that in the file, there's no renewal application or renewed license from 2016 or 2017. And so I wanted to make clear, or to figure out whether this license is a license that can be transferred and that has been renewed in 2016 and 2017.
Okay. Mr. Akris will give us some information. I think he might need to be sworn in.
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thomas Akris, Deputy Executive Secretary. Is there a question?
Yeah, has the application, or sorry, has a renewal application been filed in 2016 and 2017?
Yes, a renewal application for the establishment was filed in 2016, 2017. The reason why it wasn't in the file was because we've packaged our 2016, 2017 applications for scanning. They're going to be scanned and uploaded to the database within the next few weeks, but we separated all of them so that we can make sure that we do the redacting process properly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so those renewal applications and the renewed license, the copy that is normally in the file, those are both separated out for that reason.
The renewal application was the question that you asked me. I don't know off the top of my head if the renewal license is in there. I believe, well, are you answering the question? I don't know.
Okay, great. So another question that I had about the file, and it's kind of hard to ask questions about things that aren't in the file, but so it says that when a licensee passes away, which is what I think we all agree has happened in this case, the former licensee died, the local board may grant a certificate of permission for continuation of the business, and I did not see a certificate of permission in the file. Do you know what happened?
Well, it would be with the 2016 2017 renewal application. What would happen is, and I believe in Mrs. Toulis's case, because Mrs. Toulis was the daughter of Mr. I want to say it's Raymond Toulis, but I'm not 1,000% sure. He passed away in November 2015. Mm-hmm. At the time of renewal, Ms. Toulis came in and reapplied for the renewal and provided letters of administration. Indicating, and a death certificate indicating the passage of her father, and asked for the personal certification. I believe at the time I had reviewed the renewal application. Once the renewal application in our office is processed, it's given to Liquor Board Secretary 3, who then compiles all the documents and files them away. So I couldn't tell you off the top of my head if I know where the death certificate and the certificate of permission when it was issued, but it was issued to Ms. Toulis. And then Ms. Toulis subsequently had asked me how to maintain the validity of the license, and I provide her information with that.
Okay. Those are all the questions I had about the legitimacy of the license, so I don't have any more questions for you.
Okay.
Thanks.
May I be excused?
Right, yes, thank you.
So I have a preliminary argument to make, and I think this is why zoning keeps coming up, and it's really an important issue for us to address now as opposed to later, because under the Alcoholic Beverages Article, Section 12-1407A2, an application is not complete unless the applicant has obtained zoning approval. And in this case, we have a non-conforming tavern in a residential zone. And if we were only looking at the continuation of the non-conforming use, the community will bring up that issue about it not being an active and continuous use. So to kind of go back for a second, and I don't want to get too much into zoning law at all, but if a non-conforming use is abandoned, meaning not in active and continuous use for 12 months, it lapses unless there's a request for continuation filed, which has not been done here. So there's that issue with zoning that we have been trying to fix with the Zoning Administrator's Office and the Board of Municipal and Zoning Appeals, and that issue is still outstanding. The second issue with zoning, however, is the expansion that these applicants have put forward. So under the new zoning code, and I'll give you a copy of this, and again, not to dwell on it at all, this is the brand new zoning code that's in place as of June 5th, so 10 days ago.
Do you have copies for everybody?
There's a stapled,
A staple and a single,
and a single,
a 2 and a 1.
So a non-conforming use, this is under section 18302, may not be expanded in any manner, nor may any structure be erected or expanded. So I think I had enough for a copy for Mr. Boozer, but I'm not totally certain. Okay.
This is for Mr. Boozer.
Okay.
If you,
That's okay. Let's keep copies.
Okay, so all of these plans about expanding the building where there is a non-conforming use, they cannot occur under the new zoning code. There was a provision under the former zoning code, which is not in effect anymore, where the applicants could have requested a hearing before BMZA to expand the premises. I have searched the BMZA's database, and there are no permit requests on file that I could find submitted by the architect or whatever. So all of these things that we've been talking about, all these plans, may not be possible under the zoning code, which is why we asked for a postponement earlier to kind of get to the bottom of these zoning questions. Because essentially this application is not complete. They have not received zoning approval. And I wanted to point out that I think Commissioner Greenfield referred to this earlier. As a matter of practice, the Liquor Board does ask the zoning administrator for all of the transfers about whether or not the zoning is okay for a particular property. And so I have a copy of the email from Mr. Akris to Mr. Veal. And it's a little bit confusing because Mr. Veal, the zoning administrator, put his answers kind of into Mr. Akris's email, so it's hard to tell who is talking, but
I don't want to interrupt at this point, but is this a motion, or I don't understand what she's
I think
testifying flat
she's
out.
essentially proffering evidence as to what the issue is,
But
as
she
to
started off saying this is a procedural motion. So I'm wondering if this is a motion, or she has said she's producing evidence. I'm not sure which is which.
I
'Cause
think-
obviously
I'm
it's a motion,
saying-
I'm gonna have to respond.
I'm saying the application is not complete and therefore the board cannot hear it because the applicant has not received zoning approval as required by state law. So I'm asking to dismiss.
So I'm hearing this as a motion to postpone. And if you're making it as a motion to dismiss or as a motion to deny, you need to clarify that.
Okay, well, I guess to clarify, the motion to postpone would be until after all of the zoning issues are settled, which could require a BMZA hearing.
Clear.
Come on up.
The only zoning issue is a fictitious zoning issue created by Ms. Witt. Everything else in the record says that the use and occupancy is correct. The zoning doesn't have any problem with this. I don't understand this fictitious zoning issue that does not exist, quite frankly. It doesn't. And if she goes to zoning, and zoning has a problem with it, or the permitting process, as Mr. Jones pointed out, they can't build it. But the liquor board is here to approve the fitness of the applicants, and along with the several other factors in 4201 now,
So I
as to
would-
whether or not the application itself, or the transfer license, will cause things like undue burden on the community, crime safety, health, safety, and welfare. That's why we're here. If there's a problem with zoning later, that's for the zoning board. And again, there is no zoning problem. This is a fictitious problem that just created out of thin air.
Well, I'm looking at the letter that, and I'll let the other commissioners speak, and then we'll really get to the nub of this. But the letter, or the email, does state, I would recommend them securing a new use permit for continued use. That would at least update the records and have a current use permit on file. And it is the policy and the practice of the board to require all zoning and use issues to be settled before we hear, a request with respect to any aspect of a license to transfer it, or to get a new license. So that's where I think the confusion is.
I don't think there's really any confusion at all, quite frankly. I have a current UNO permit produced.
Where is it?
By zoning. Mr. Jones had it. It's one that was secured from the zoning department in the 1947 one you looked at before.
Wait.
That's-
We're supposed to rely on a 1947 use permit? And you're calling that current?
Any other evidence, what he's saying in that email, which I've never seen, he just.
Oh,
read it to me
you
for
haven't
the first
seen
time.
this?
You said he would recommend that they get an updated permit, which is exactly what you're saying. It's old, it's 1947. You might want to come in and just get a renewed one so it doesn't have to be on this little scrap of paper anymore. That's what he's saying in that email. Not that they need to reapply for zoning in any manner. Again, this is a fictitious zoning ruse that has nothing to do with why we're here.
Well, all right, how would you
I'd like
respond?
to respond because I didn't quite get to talk about why this email is in front of you. That sentence, which is right here, if you would like to take a look at it, is part of it. But the sentence that's above it, I believe, is part of Tom's original email, which says, 6500 St. Helena, this is a transfer of ownership only and not location. There are no ancillary requests. So from the file that Mr. Akris had, there was no request to expand. The applicants did not request to expand it. So Mr. Veal is not responding to a request to expand. And if he were, he might bring up the fact that you are not allowed to expand.
Perhaps the gentleman who's involved in the email might be able to clear everything up. He's here.
I mean, we can certainly ask, but here's my issue, and if I'm wrong, that won't be the first and won't be the last. But there is precedent that any change to the interior of a licensed establishment requires permission from the board and some involvement or notice to the board. So here we have an expansion which is significant, which is laudable, a huge investment, which is fantastic. These are all really positive things. But to say there's no change, that's not factually correct.
There are two completely distinct and separate legal issues. The first is, and I agree with you 100%, does a licensee need to come and make the board aware of changes to the premises? Absolutely.
And
I
the
agree.
answer is yes.
100%. That's why we're here. It is a separate legal issue. Is this an expansion of premises for use of the license? That is the question on the application. Is this a request for expansion of premises for use of the license? And this is not.
But it is.
It's not.
I see it differently than you, Mr. Boozer. And raising your voice doesn't
I apologize.
persuade
I
me.
apologize.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't persuade me to feel any different. And the other commissioners might feel differently even than me. But here's where we are. I think that there are legal issues that have to be settled. And we can certainly ask Mr. Akris to come up and give his view. But what would be most helpful is if there were something affirmative from zoning that says, these guys are fine, they can go, do whatever they need to do, whatever they want to do. And I think factually, there was one drawing that was submitted with the application, and it was fairly rudimentary. It's not, and it's certainly not consistent with what's been brought in today, the more formal architectural drawings. And even as your client is explaining in response to Commissioner Greenfield's questions, is this what it looks like today? It's like, well, no, not really, but maybe. So it's very confusing. And the one thing that I don't want to do, whether I'm acting as chair or not, I don't want to make a decision based on misunderstood facts. And I'll just take the responsibility of me and say, I'm confused as to what exactly it is we have here. Is there a zoning challenge or is there not a zoning challenge? Is there an expansion that requires a lot more detail or is there not? I don't think that we're hurt by taking the time to get the answers to those questions, having you come back, having everybody come back. Let's have clarity. Let's be making decisions based on actual fact and intent, because this sounds like a really great plan. And I know that there are people here who are opposed, and we want to hear that as well, but I don't even know how we get there until we really know that this application is complete, it's ready to be decided, everything's in order, and I don't think that there's any harm in getting that certainty, okay?
I certainly understand that. In a sense, I'm put in a position where I'm almost trying to prove a negative. I can't really go to zoning and say, can you write the liquor board a letter saying that zoning is okay? It
But we
requires
can.
a legal decision.
But we can, I mean.
Like we're making a zoning issue when there is no zoning issue.
But it appears, you say that.
Is there any administrative hearing? Is there any?
Have you applied and
We don't-
been
we
told you
to. I
don't
have
need
a
one?
occupancy permit right there. So in a sense, I'm going to zoning and trying to prove a negative, saying, can you tell me this is okay? What they've already given me is their card on file, whether it be a bit aged, it's a different
bit.
story. They
It's
say,
older than-
yes, this use is okay. This is okay. It is zoned to do this. Yes, you can do this. And I'm not sure what, again, I'm supposed to do.
Well,
In terms- I can't bring one of the employees in here and say, look, will you testify to the board that it's okay? They've
I-
already told us it's okay.
I can tell you if there were not the plans to expand the kitchen, it probably would be a horse of a different color. But those plans and the significant investment, for me, it does change it. And I don't think I can ignore that. I have a.
So for this is more of an academic question than anything else. So at any time a licensee is going to expand not only the licensed premises where the license is going to be used, do any kind of change, if they were to put a shed out back of their building, if they were to change a parking configuration, they have to come to the board?
I don't think they have to with respect to parking, but.
Shed, a storage area, a chimney, I mean, anything. And I'm not trying to testify inside of school. I asked half a dozen liquor board commissioners around the state of Maryland for their opinion as to what expansion of premises means before I filed this application. Every single one of them said no. Expansion of premises
Now,
is the
you know
premises for its
Baltimore,
life.
Baltimore follows its own beat.
I know, but I think the question begs it. I think it's a legitimate question. If a client comes to me and says, look, I want to put a storage shed up back, is that an expansion of premises?
Well, that's
Why
not
don't you
what-
come in front of the board?
I don't think a storage shed out back, not attached to the property, and that's certainly not used for alcohol sales or distribution, I think that's a pretty easy one, but that's not what we
But
have
a kitchen
here.
is not used for alcohol sales or distribution. It's simply a kitchen.
Can I just hop in for
Sure.
a moment and say that under the rules and regulations adopted by the Liquor Board, licensed premises means those premises that are specifically identified in the license issued by the board may also include an approved outdoor cafe area and/or a parking area in which patrons from the licensed premises are allowed to park their vehicles. And in this specific license that we're talking about, the licensed premises are referred to as the entire building. So an expansion of the licensed premises would be an expansion of any part of the building.
That's how I read it.
Again, Baltimore does, as you say, march to its own beat sometimes, but
It's a fantastic beat. It really is.
like I say, it's a shame that, as I said, my client's going to put an enormous amount of investment into this, and the community law center is throwing up a fuss because of a kitchen. I imagine the board would laud any BD7 licensee that came in and said, look, I want to serve food full-time. I
We
want to
do.
build a full restaurant. Well, in a sense, I don't think my client is getting that sense here today.
Well, I think Commissioner Greenfield made it very explicitly clear that this is laudable, the plans, but is it ready to be decided? Is the transfer ready to be decided today?
And
That
I
is
should
the
be clear in my
question.
orders to the board, what does the board need to make the decision? I want to be just very clear about that. What does the board need?
Let's ask
from me or my
Mr. Akris to come back up. He's still under oath. So the question is, plain and simple, is this application, and I'm assuming you're going to say yes, that it's ready to be heard because you've presented it to us.
Just a couple things. So Ms. Witt had raised issues after we received this email. Ms. Witt actually sent a follow-up email to Mr. Veal, and she asked and questioned whether this was ready to be docketed, and shouldn't the zoning board rescind its preliminary approval? Because, and you don't have that email.
No.
So that's what Ms. Witt sent after this. So what happened was that I had preliminary, as per our SOPs, I sent this email for preliminary approval of the of zoning's review of the application. Mr. Veal provided me this information, and when I ask about ancillary services, I'm talking about live entertainment and outdoor table service. Those are the things that Mr. Veal and I understand to be ancillary services, live entertainment, outdoor table service. So what Mr. Veal did was he actually looked, and there are some use and occupancy permits. Particularly, one example for this board was the curb shop. The curb shop on Falls Road actually had cards like this because they didn't issue a new UNO. There is no other UNO other than these cards. So when Mr. Veal talked about getting, I would recommend them to secure a new permit, it's going to be in the name of another licensed corporation, and so it has to be, it can't be this anymore. I don't know how long Mr. Toulis had owned the bar for, but he had owned it for years and years and years before the issuance of new use and occupancy permits. But after this was sent, Ms. Witt sent another email asking Mr. Veal to rescind his preliminary approval of the of this particular application. Mr. Veal, in a conversation that I had with him, said he's not going to rescind his preliminary approval because this application was ready to be submitted to the board. He preliminary approved it. He stated specifically that if there's an individual who's going to protest the zoning or any issue with the use and occupancy permit, they have that opportunity to do it through zoning. Once they try to issue the permit, once they go through their process, they can go and attempt to do that. But for the purposes of docketing this matter for preliminary approval of this case, Mr. Veal said it was fine.
Okay.
I have a question. So you said once they try to issue the permit, but Mr. Boozer's argument is that they already have the permit.
This is the permit that Mr. Boozer is talking about. This is what's, I'm speculating, so I apologize. I believe this to be the permit that Mr. Boozer is talking about, that this is issued, and this is the current use and occupancy permit issued to the location. When Mr. Boozer, if, and I'm assuming, and Mr. Boozer can speak for himself, once the application is either approved or denied, if approved, Mr. Boozer is going to go in and then file an application to get the use and occupancy in his client's name and corporation. Once that happens, there's a whole process that zoning will go through, that at that point, if there's a concern or an issue from the community, from Ms. Witt, from whomever, they can go ahead and approach and appeal that process. They're just two separate silos. For the purpose of preliminary approval, as per the alcoholic beverages article, this was sufficient. This is what we set up in terms of a process to get that preliminary approval, was to go right to the zoning administrator. And that's what we did in this case, and that's what we received.
Did you, sorry.
Go ahead.
Did you speak with Mr. Veal at all about the expansion request?
I believe, when I got documents, And I think Mr. Boozer had sent documents a couple of weeks ago. May have forwarded those to Mr. Veal. I have to check, because I got a lot of emails on this subject, and it was a lot of back and forth.
But you don't remember having a conversation with him about whether or not it's okay, with him and his office, that there be an expansion of a non-conforming, of a property on which there is a non-conforming use?
We didn't have a specific conversation about non-conforming use, but I do, the issue is, if you're saying that this is an alteration, in our rules and regulations, it's pretty specific as to what an alteration is. The alteration is an expansion of not necessarily the licensed premise per se, but it's the area where you can serve alcoholic beverages. If you try to expand the area where you're serving alcoholic beverage or reduce the area where you're serving alcoholic beverages, a primary case is the 60s and 70s Club, which this board heard maybe about 2 months ago on Lombard Street, 1000 West Lombard Street, where they created where they shortened the size of the tavern and elongated the packaged goods section, because I believe there was like a leaky refrigerator. That is an alteration because the space, the service space, is reduced. In this case, my understanding, and I can't speak for Mr. Veal, my understanding is that there is going to be no reduction or expansion of the area where alcoholic beverages are going to be served. There may be a removal of pool tables or removal of gaming systems, but that area was allowed, you could serve alcoholic beverages in that area to begin with. The kitchen, from what I understand, is not going to be a place where alcohol, and I can only assume, is not going to be a place where alcoholic beverages are served. So when we talk about alterations of the space used to sell alcoholic beverages is not going to be changed from the way it is now and when we see the finished product. And that's my understanding of this application.
So the testimony from Ms. Burke was a little mixed. There were some words regarding making the bar area smaller, which would be to reduce the bar area, which technically is altering the space in which alcohol is served because it's collapsing it. But then there's also testimony about taking out the pool table and games, which would then increase the tables and area where food and beverage could be served. However, the actual square footage is not changed. And is that what you're
Correct.
hanging
Yes.
your arguments on? The square footage doesn't change.
Correct.
The tables might change, the bar area changes, but you don't consider that to be an alteration under the board's rules, and so therefore, no need for her to come back to this board or have the board approval at this stage.
Correct.
Is that, do I have
Yes.
that right?
Correct. That's been the interpretation for alterations from our rules and regulations, the way the board has always interpreted, from my understanding, and I could defer to Mr. Page from before me, but the understanding is square footage of alcohol for alcoholic beverage service. If a licensee is putting in a new bathroom, that's not going to affect, or renovating the bathroom, that's not going to affect the square footage, that's not necessarily an issue. It becomes more of an issue, and the board sees more of an issue when you see a BD7 trying to reduce tavern space and increase packaged goods areas.
Okay.
But the front page of the application refers to expansion of premises, not alterations, correct?
I don't recall, I don't have the application in front of me.
Can you show me where, which rule you're talking about with alterations? Because there's nothing in the definitions section.
Board's indulgence.
Court.
Rule 4.18, and it just says, this is alterations. It says a license holder may not make an alteration or addition to licensed premise or change the manner in which alcoholic beverages are dispensed without permission from the board. Licensee may not make installations or alterations on the licensed premise without obtaining the required permits and city's approvals from the city.
Okay, but it says, a license holder may not make an alteration or addition to licensed premises, which from the license is the entire building, or change the manner in which alcoholic beverages are dispensed.
It's the...
Those are three different things, correct?
Correct. It's the way the alcoholic beverages are dispensed, which the board has always viewed the way, the rule of alterations.
All right, well, okay.
Okay. All right.
If I may ask one question to follow up.
Do you want to come?
Mr. Akris.
Yes.
So Ms. Witt actually got an email from the zoning commissioner saying it's not a problem? You saw this email?
So if I'm, Ms. Witt, after this email was sent with the approval, Ms. Witt sent an email to Mr. Veal, and it's stating that, the preliminary approval should be rescinded. I, in turn, sent an email to Mr. Veal, regarding the analysis that we had in our files, and saying why, this is the reason why we had preliminary conversation. I had a follow-up phone call with him, and he said, they're not rescinding the preliminary approval.
I've never received an email from Mr. Veal. I look forward to that someday. But, okay.
Mr. Akris's testimony is quite clear. She knew the answer about zoning before she came in.
That's.
Okay,
I
she
would
says that she hasn't received that email, and I'm going to take everybody at their word, but I appreciate your testimony and the clarification and the clarity that gives us. So I think that we are in a position to hear this and to move forward. This is a transfer. The issue is whether or not these licensees are qualified to have this license. So we really are looking at the character of the licensee. So I want to hear if there are any issues regarding the character of those. And just to be clear, I am making as chair a decision that this, I don't know what the motion was, but whatever the motion was, it's denied. Okay. If it was a motion to postpone, that's denied. If it was a motion to deny this application, that is denied. If it was a motion to, I guess, find this not ready to go forward, that's denied.
Okay.
So we're going to go for, this is ready to go forward, it's ready to be heard.
All right, so there are.
Thank you, Mr. Akris.
Thank you.
I believe there are 4 people here who would like to testify. I'll call Shirley Gregory first.
Okay.
Can we borrow a microphone? Or I guess she can come around, yeah. Okay. So can you give your name and spell it, please?
Shirley Gregory, SHIRLEY, GREGORY.
And you are the president of the St. Helena Community Association, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And how long have you lived in St. Helena?
22 years.
Okay. And how far away is your home from 6500 St. Helena?
5 houses.
5 houses. Okay, so you're on the same block. And so this is a request to transfer the ownership of this business, but it's also the applicants have made a lot of requests about how they'll change the premises. So I think it's I think you had some testimony that you wanted to give about the tavern, and briefly, the tavern before it closed. Can you talk a little bit about how that impacted your everyday life?
Yes. Ray's Tavern has been there a very long time, probably even before I even moved into the community. We used to have a lot of drug dealings in our community, and we still do today. It actually used to be a tag team. There would be somebody at the beginning of St. Helena who would take the cash, come down, somebody would come out from Ray's Tavern, give them the drugs. And this used to go on a daily basis. I used to write down tag numbers, take pictures, but of course a lot never happened. And I know the new owner coming in, of course, doesn't know anything about the old history that the community went through. But there has been gun shootings at this premises. There's been stabbings at this premises. There's been gangs that have been hanging out at this premises. So it's been very disturbing to us.
And did you notice a difference in your community after the tavern closed?
Oh yeah, I got real quiet. It's like all the gang people kind of moved away. Because I even actually brought a map for you guys that we have 3 other taverns in our little community. And this little, I'm going to show you this road right here down is my community. That's St. Helena, which is 241 homes. So out of the 241 homes, we already have 3 we have 3 bars, and out of those 2 bars, 2 of them serve food as well. So we were like, do we really need a 4th tavern in this little small area? So I made the maps for you guys, just so you could see it.
Okay, and so with all the drug activity and the violence that you saw, it was, can you explain kind of why they did that at Ray's? Was it, it wasn't because necessarily of him exactly, but just because he didn't have a plan? Is that more or less correct?
No, the road itself is, if you look on the map where St. Ray's is, it's a one-way street coming down. So it was very easy for any drug dealers or anything to come out. He would come out of Ray's, they would go to their car, they could go straight or they could go right. So it made it very convenient for them to get away very easily. Because we're at a dead end.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
Ray's, when did Ray's close?
November of 2015, and I have not seen that door open since it closed. I've actually, matter of fact, I went over and checked the door every day. I really did. I went and, yep, it's closed. Yep, it's closed.
Okay.
But it's never been open.
Okay, thank you.
So Ray passed away in that month of November 2015. Okay, so when is the first time that you heard from the applicants about this license?
Not until it actually went on the liquor board. No one's actually contacted us at all.
Okay.
And then when I saw it go on, I asked for it to be postponed because I was going on vacation. I'm supposed to be in Kentucky right now, and I had to drive back a day early just to be here because nobody would postpone the hearing.
Okay. So you met with the applicants last week. Did
Yes.
you feel as though the applicants were aware of the issues already that you brought up?
No, I don't think they understood our community. I understand the lady that wants to buy it lives in the county in Dundalk, so she's not a city resident and doesn't understand our little area that well. I think she means well, but at the same token, our community doesn't need another bar and the drug activity that happens that follows it.
Okay, have the applicants addressed your concerns about parking?
No, I also brought that for you as well. This is a picture, sorry, I had enough ink for one. It's actual, did you want to see it, sir? Okay. It's actually a picture of St. Helena Avenue, right where the bar is on the corner. The bar's a very small bar. It's not very big, which she's already testified to. And the parking, as I said, is a one-way street. So the residents actually have to park on both sides of the street. And most of the times you can come home after work and you're lucky to even find a spot. So I know she testified that there's going to be parking in the rear, which is going to be in the alley, but that's only going to be 5 or 6 spots. So and she's having 70 people that this bar can hold. Where are the other people going to park? Because there really is no other parking.
Did the licensees address your concerns about the violence that you used to see or the other kinds of drug dealing and things that went on there?
No.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else that you wanted to tell the board quickly?
Well, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but anyway, when Ray's closed, I actually copied this off of Facebook if you would like to read it. It states that it was being permanently closed, and that was in 2015. I highlighted it for you so you could see it.
Okay.
And you can look through and you can see pictures. It was like, you know.
Facebook, the great authority. I guess if we can.
It was gorgeous.
On Twitter. It was?
Oh, no. It was not.
Oh, you're
I'm
being
smart, I'm
facetious.
sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm quite literal, so if you say it's gorgeous, I'm going to believe you.
No, it's literally
the opposite.
falling apart.
Okay.
The place it was never, and even when it was opened, I remember anytime a cop was actually showing up, the barmaid would lock up and leave, and it could be 9 o'clock at night, and she was locking the doors and leaving because she was that scared.
All right, I think those are all the questions that I had for you, Shirley.
Okay.
Right.
Next person.
And I did want to bring up also really quick, if I may, that when I heard this went on to the liquor board license in February, We brought it up at our community association meeting. It was brought up 3 different times, asking what the community wanted to do, and it was in favor that we wanted to prevent the bar from reopening again if we could. But this, I just want to make sure you understand, not speaking just for me, but I'm also speaking for the community, and that's what they wanted to see happen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I
Thank
ask
you.
a question?
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry.
I was at the meeting with the Community Association last Wednesday, is that correct?
Yes, the day before I was leaving to go on my vacation. Yes, and I didn't reply back to you because I was on vacation.
Oh, that's not what I'm asking.
Yes.
And at the conclusion of that meeting, I offered my services in drafting a memorandum of understanding.
Yep,
which I said I would
you
shoot
said that
over to
you,
the community, so-
you said, I'll draw up the memorandum, but I did not think we had an agreement, but you seem to think we did.
Did your attorney ever forward that memorandum for your review?
Yes, you did.
Okay, but no one ever got back to us about it?
I told you I was leaving for vacation.
Okay, not you, but to your knowledge, your attorney never got back.
She was out of the country.
Or someone else in
She
her
told
office.
you.
That's all the
they-
questions I have.
No, I
That's all the
mean,
questions
no, I just want to make sure you're excuse me, understand us as well. We were being pushed along very fastly on this. This community association had no time whatsoever to let the community know what's going on. They don't even know the plans. They have no plans. The community association itself does. So none of the members know what's going on. I only had enough time to meet with you briefly and meet the new owner to at least appeal them so they understood that we do exist, and we want them to, if they are going to move in, to respect this community. But I did not have time to forward anything to the community association. I didn't have time to call an emergency meeting to see what the community would vote for. I don't know.
Ms. Gregory, let me ask you a question if I could.
Sure.
When did you get notice of the prospective buyers?
I actually got notice of prospective buyers. It hit the Liquor Board License Board in February,
February. And so,
but I did not know who the buyers were. There was no information for me, just that it was going to go to a hearing.
okay, but, so we know that, just factually, we know that February 17th, there was an email from your council to
Correct.
planning and zoning. So at least your council knew.
That's when I got the information.
So so I just want to make sure I understand. So you weren't able to, the parties, and I understand that there's some new folks and there's a community that has, and it's hard, people are working and busy and taking care of kids and grandkids. But we're 4 months in, and so in those 4 months, there was no time for the parties to come together and discuss this?
I had no clue who they were.
But your council did.
I don't know. My councilman didn't tell me who they
Your
were.
council.
I'm not on that email. That email was from the file.
Okay, but you knew in February.
Only because I get the Liquor Board.
Okay.
I get a notice that it's going to be coming to the board.
So, Ms.
That's
Gregory,
it.
when did
And
you-
it just said Ray's Tavern. It didn't say the hangar. It didn't say, her name. It didn't say who the owners were. Didn't tell me any of that stuff. It just said that Ray's Tavern was coming up for transfer.
Okay.
That's all it stated.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Sure.
What specifically are you requesting of my clients in terms of?
You need to,
Let me strike that, let me test it again.
why don't you just pull the microphone? There's a microphone right there.
What specifically would you like my client to do in order to alleviate your concerns regarding crime, parking, and drugs? What specifically?
I don't think I can answer that question.
That's all the questions I have.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think anybody can answer that question. That's a question that's not feasible.
I mean, obviously, there was some discussions, there was some interest in trying to craft an MOU. An MOU is not required. We don't have the authority to force it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
does. It didn't work here, and it may be just lack of time. But there's no penalty from me if you're not able to have an MOU. That does not weigh into for me,
Right.
whether this gets transferred or not. I don't penalize you for not doing it. I don't or favor you for doing it. It didn't happen. It's a non-issue.
I had a chance to read it, and then I was on the road, so.
Okay. Life happens.
And then I
Let's
literally
move on to the
drove back.
next
so-
witness.
All right.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
What?
Yeah.
We got to be done by 7? We're in trouble. This is not going to happen. All right, let's go.
Okay. Can you just state your name?
Tamara, Tamara, last name Frank.
Okay.
I missed your first name.
Tamara, Tamara.
And how far away would you say that you live from this particular bar?
I live at 6523 St. Helena Avenue, which is 6 houses up,
Okay.
directly across the street from Ray's Tavern.
Okay, and can you just, in the interest of, I know we've taken a lot of time, so can you talk about your specific concerns with the plans that you've seen today and you've heard about today? Can you explain your concerns about those to the board, please?
Well, I've owned and resided at the property for 17 years, and like Ms. Gregory said, you know, lots of crime. Would go out in the morning, beer bottles be all over my yard, over in the street, the parking issues. With the proposed plans, with the addition, you know, you're going to serve more people. There's already parking issues to begin with, and it's just going to make it worse. And again, you know, the crime, and we just don't need another bar in that area. There's already 3.
And has anything that you've heard here today addressed your concerns, or do you still have those concerns after this hearing?
No, nothing's addressed my concerns, and the fact that it has not been open since 2015, the end of 2015.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Any questions for this? All right.
Okay.
may I be excused?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody, the two of you, did you want to both testify, or do you have something to add?
Okay.
Okay, I will just proffer on their behalf that
Okay,
they would
thank you.
echo the testimony that's already been given.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else from you? Do you want to do a closing?
Nothing else in rebuttal, just simply, they're willing to make an enormous investment in the community. My clients, in earnest, met with the community association, tried to work it out, but I asked Ms. Gregory, just tell us what you want us to do. Just tell us, please. Just tell us. We'll put, I put together an MOU. I sent it over. There's nothing specific. We'll sign anything in terms of an MOU, which is
Anything?
pretty much, they can't even tell us what they want. That's the problem. It's the same droning over and over. The applicants are fit and proper. We haven't seen any problems with their qualifications. The plan is sound. They're going to make a significant investment in the community. As I said, I think the liquor board would raise their hands in hurrah if every BD7 license became a full-service restaurant. That's what they're doing in this case. I'd ask you to grant the transfer of the license.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Witt?
Yes, just very briefly, I still would argue that the application is incomplete, that the applicants have not obtained zoning approval for their plans, neither for the use permit to continue to use this non-conforming use as a tavern, nor especially for the expansion. I think what has been so difficult in this case is that the applicants submitted their application a long time ago, months ago, and didn't even think to contact the community association or even the people who live on this block. And I don't think that that would happen in other neighborhoods. I think it happens in some neighborhoods and not others. And I don't think it's particularly respectful of the community, and I don't think that this, and I would ask the board, excuse me, not to grant the transfer, which is also, sorry, an expansion. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so first, before I say what I think, I want to thank the community neighbors for coming in and being so vigilant and holding down the fort and demanding so much for your neighborhood. I understand it. I appreciate it. That's what the process is about, and I applaud you for doing that and for getting counsel to help you. For the licensee, I don't know where she is, but oh, she's hiding behind you. For the applicant, tremendous investment. It is rare that we see that with respect to BD7. They usually transfer as is with no significant investment. We did see that investment with respect to the curb shop, which this board did here some time ago. And it's rare, it's commendable. We certainly recognize the amount of investment that's going to be made. The community doesn't want a bar. You're not offering a bar, you're offering a restaurant. A full-service restaurant, which is different. I have heard probably way too much about the zoning issue, and it's been a lot of back and forth. It's been a little complicated to follow it, but based on the representations of Mr. Akris and all of the communications, I do believe that this is not a zoning issue, that this is ready to go forward. Because it's ready to go forward, there is no testimony about any disqualifying concerns regarding either applicant. I do believe that this is a transfer that is approvable, and I do approve of the transfer. The other commissioners?
What we have before us today is a transfer. This is not a protest renewal, it's a transfer. And when you deal with a transfer, you deal with the person who's involved in the transfer and the license. It's a good license, according to the liquor board staff. I haven't heard anything negative towards the person whose property is being transferred to. So I have no choice but to rule in favor of the transfer. And keep in mind, those things that this board spent a lot of time discussing, such as the bump out, the construction work, there's another entity that would deal with that. That's not before us today. It's just a transfer. But zoning, building inspectors, electrical inspectors, mechanical inspectors, they're the ones who would deal with those issues. So if you have an issue with those things, please call them and make them aware of it. I'll approve the transfer.
I, too, concur with my colleagues for approval of the transfer. I would say, Ms. Burke, number one, applaud you for your investment, but also kind of caution you that this is just the start, and that you have, as I said earlier, a very engaged community, and it would be in your absolute interest to be working closely with them on security, parking, sanitation, all the things they've outlined, because, as I said before, they're watching, as they should. It's their neighborhood, and they will likely reach out when there are issues, and so we want to try and be proactive. So I wish you the best of luck. I hope you work very closely with the community, and for those reasons, I would concur with my colleagues for the transfer.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Boozer. Community Exhibit 1, before floor plan. Community Exhibit 2, after floor plan. Community Exhibit 3, Baltimore City Code Article 32, 18 through 1, non-conforming use. 4, Baltimore City Code Article 32, 1 through 313. Community Exhibit 5, email between Jeffrey Veal and Thomas Akris dated February 17, 2017. Exhibit 6, Ariel Met. Exhibit 7, photo of St. Helena Avenue. Exhibit 8, Facebook post dated September 14, 2014. Board Exhibit 1, letter from City Law Department dated May 26, 2017, and sales and use tax returns. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, thank you.
All right, best of luck to you.
We're going to call number 8 on the PM docket, Demetrius Spiliadis, Pauline Spiliadis, Saturno Spiliadis, Olive Grove Catering, Inc., trading as Inn at the Black Olive, 803, number 8.
Number 8, Olive Grove Catering. You don't have it?
It's the last one on your document.
Miss Russell, do you have?
What's it called? I'll just have the name of it.
Here, look at mine. Sorry. Come on up. Come on up.
This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. A request for hardship extension. Please come forward.
So I believe Commissioner Moore has recused herself, so you're stuck with myself and Commissioner Jones. Some would say that's not such a bad deal. But that aside, we're here, I understand, on a request for hardship. I don't know if I have to sit in the chairman's chair or not, but am I okay? I should?
Yes, Mr.
Will
Chair.
the camera get me? All right.
Yes.
I hope it just, Larry, I hope it doesn't get my bald spot. I forgot my yarmulke. All right, let's get this going. So, request for hardship extension. Council, would you like to introduce yourself and, sir, your name, and we need to get your, swear you in.
Of course. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Adam Baker with Whitefer Taylor and Preston with offices here in Baltimore at 7 St. Paul Street on behalf of the owner, 803 South Caroline Street, LLC. And I have with me Ed Powell, who is a representative of the owner.
Mr. Powell, would you like to turn to Bryce on my far left, and he'll swear you in shortly.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Okay. Mr. Powell, what's your interest in the property at this moment?
We are the landlord.
Okay. And can you just briefly describe for the board I guess, the history of the property, how it was used previously, and the plans moving forward?
We acquired the property in 2014. It was operating as a 12-room boutique hotel with a vent space on the top floor and a market deli on the first floor. And we're in the process of turning the hotel rooms into market rate apartments. We want to, we've converted the upstairs into a market rate apartment or complex, just one unit, and the first floor is going to remain retail, and we're looking to release that. And in order to do so, we're looking to be able to transfer the license to us so that we can provide that to a new tenant.
Okay, backing up just a little bit. The deli/restaurant space on the first floor you described, that space was the current space for this liquor license?
Yes.
Okay. And the licensee on that license was a prior tenant of the building?
Correct.
Okay. And when did they cease operation?
The October of 2016.
Okay.
Is when the license is under the catering company, and I believe that's when they submitted for ceasing operations.
Okay. And with regard to the redevelopment plans, can you just add a little color to that? Where are you in the process of the build-out of the space and the conversion from the hotels to the apartment units?
We've gone through design. We're in bid. We have not started any contracting as of yet, and we're working through just those issues. Just we'd like to believe we'll be in a position to move forward on the renovation within 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. And have you had discussions with the current license holder, who is your prior tenant, about a future transfer?
Yes.
Okay. And is it fair to say that there have been negotiations in that regard?
Yes.
Okay. And those negotiations are ongoing?
Yes.
And this extension request is a piece of those negotiations?
Yes.
Okay. If you can, just tell the board, are you in discussions with any new tenants to fill that space? And if so, where are you in the discussions?
We are in conversations with a group to take the space, and we are working on providing a lease, working through an LOI. That we have an existing LOI. We're working through that lease or we're working through presenting them with a lease, of which obviously the liquor license would need to be a part of.
Okay. And can you ballpark, if that lease is executed, can you ballpark the build-out time for that new tenant?
It would be relatively shortly, within 30 days. There's not a lot of TI involved.
Okay.
Space is ready to go.
Okay. So it's fair to say that they can get up and running fairly easily and quickly?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I have no further questions.
So I just want to confirm, that our records indicate, as you said, Mr. Powell, the restaurant was closed October of 2016. Our date is October 28th. The 180 days would run until April 26th of 2017. Your letter that requesting a hardship was submitted on April 21st, so therefore you met the time frame. Let me make sure I understand something. I'm not clear. You aren't currently the license holder.
No.
So, Mr. Akris, may I ask you a question? Yes. Is he still sworn in? Okay, thank you. Does Mr. Powell's company have standing to request a hardship?
Yes, under 122202, any interested party has the ability to request from the board an additional 180 days a hardship extension. In this case, Mr. Powell does have that interest, as he's the landlord of the facility, and he has a secured interest in that license. And I'm sure I believe his attorney can go on about that matter if needs be.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Stated it all. I don't need anything.
All right.
I'm good.
Well, based upon the testimony and the evidence provided, I would grant your request for a hardship extension.
I concur.
Best of luck. Yep.
Thank you.
For the record.
Madam Chair, number 3 on the PM docket.
Yes, sir.
Call the case of Jane Vyeth, trading as Henniger's Tavern, 1810-12 Bank Street. This is a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license, a request to add outdoor table service. Please come forward.
Okay. Everyone who wants to testify is here. Okay, if you could raise your right hands and be sworn, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. All right, and
Bias, name, I'll give the other two appropriate.
Ken Veith.
And what's your name?
Julio Cervantes, JULIO CERVANTES.
okay, tell me what we have here.
We're requesting outdoor table service. We've been in business for 28 years, and we feel like it's something that we need to do to stay current and
Okay.
stay up with the times.
All right, can you tell us what the plan is for the outdoor table service?
3 tables, 12 seats.
And in the front of the business, at the
It's in the
back?
front of the, it's in the front of the business. It's already gone through zoning. It's already been approved.
And you've got zoning approval?
It's all been approved.
Okay, great.
Are you sure?
Yeah, are you sure? Do you have a letter? Even older than the last one. Have you gotten any community pushback, any opposition from the community?
Yes, we should, our community association sent a letter.
It's not
and-
pushback.
In support or?
In support, yes.
Okay, there you go. That's push forward, not push back.
Yeah, we have
Oh,
it in the-
Yeah, okay.
No, not up on my legal ease.
Oh, I'm just talking. Okay, well, terrific.
Madam Chair, we do have a letter of support.
All right, and the hours of operation for the outdoor table service, would that be consistent with when you're open in general?
Yes.
And what are your hours?
6 to
Only-
9:30.
For the kitchen, and we only use them for dining.
Yeah, it's helpful if just one of you speak at a time.
6 till 9:30, Tuesday through Saturday.
So that's 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m.?
No, the kitchen is only open from 6 p.m. till 9:30 p.m.
Okay.
5 days a week. The bar is open from 5 until midnight usually.
All right, 5 p.m. to okay. Okay, and we do have letters of support. There's a letter from Councilman Zeke Cohen, and a letter from the Upper Fells Point Improvement Association. I think that's it, yeah. Okay, and did you want to add anything, Mr. Cervantes?
Yes, I do. Just want to start off by saying thank you to Acting Chair Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Greenfield, and Commissioner Jones. My name is Julio Cervantes. I'm a community liaison for the 1st District Council member, Zeke Cohen. I'm here on his behalf to read his letter of support for Henninger's and also his letter of support supporting the Upper Fells Improvement Association. Councilman Cohen is committed to taking the input from the community and making sure that the community is fully aware of what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and any input is transparent and shared amongst all the stakeholders. Liquor Board of Licensed Commissioners for Baltimore City, 231 East Baltimore Street, 6th floor, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202. Regarding Henninger's Tavern, 1812 Bank Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21231. Dear Commissioners, I'm writing to you regarding the request to add outdoor seating to the existing Henninger's Tavern in Upper Fells Point at 1812 Bank Street. The Upper Fells Point Improvement Association has claimed the request will contribute to public safety and the buildings and budding, social life in the community. After 28 years of business, Henninger's Tavern has proven itself a valuable asset to the community. The Upper Fells Point Improvement Association has expressed its support of the request. For the above stated reasons, I also support the addition of outdoor seating that are sought by the applicants and in support of the Community Association's support of the extension of premise for outdoor seating. Please contact me if you have any questions concerning my support of the Upper Fells Improvement Association support of this particular appeal. Not really appeal, but it's a request. Excuse me. Thank you for your attention to the issue. Sincerely, Councilman Z. Cohen.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilman Cohen is one of our newest council members, and he has established himself as a great advocate for Baltimore, and it's wonderful that you have his support, and I really appreciate your coming here and reading the letter and adding some real words to the support. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore.
Any questions? Any
No.
questions? Okay, I think we're ready to make a decision, and I support the request.
Thank you.
And also, I support that request. I'm looking at a use permit that was issued back some time ago. And the use was always approved by zoning, but we just took the time to request that, so
We
I
didn't
approve.
know.
We
We
just,
had
we
to.
take our time with things.
No, we didn't know. They never told us that we had to.
One at a time.
So I approve.
Well, we've
Okay.
been there 28 years. What's another 7, right?
Okay.
No, I too approve, and I know you, based upon our records, you guys run a great establishment, have had no violations, and doing the right thing, so best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's Baltimore
Thank you to the
tradition.
liquor board and the entire staff as well. We appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you for
Thank
your
the
time.
councilman.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, it's for the record. Board Exhibit 1, letter of support, Upper Fells Point, dated May 19th, 2017. Board Exhibit 2, letter of support from Councilman Z. Cohen, dated June 15th, 2017. Thank you.
Number 4 on the PM docket, Corey La Parada Lounge at 148 LLC, trading as Tavern at 148 Southeast Street. This is a Class BD7, a beer, wine, and liquor, beer, wine, and liquor license. A request for hardship extension. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kanensky representing Mr. LaPrade.
Okay, do you have, please swear him in, yes?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay,
For the record, this is a request for a hardship extension, and originally the place was opened to January 7, 2017. The licensee sold the building after having been there for a while and was in the process of having the license transferred. We had an application pending. Mr. Stanley Fine had a client who wanted to move it down to the Inner Harbor East, where the Four Seasons, there's a restriction as to that area, and as a result of which that deal fell through. And he's now put the license back on the market. We're very close to having somebody put the application in, but this is the last asset he has. The hardship would be that he would have to have the time to be able to sell. We're fully anticipating probably within 3 months or so we'll have, this license transferred.
okay. Does either commissioner have any questions? Do you have any
No.
questions? All right, okay. I understand the hardship, and I approve the request.
I also approve.
I concur, and I do note that maybe this is part of it, the corporation's not in good standing. I assume that's something you're working on.
Yeah.
Okay. Best of luck.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
No exhibits.
Nope.
Ronald Passad, MVP Entertainment LLC, trading as Club 347 North Calvert Street. This is a Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Request for hardship extension. Please come forward.
Once again, for the record, Melvin J. Kanensky representing Mr. Prasad.
Okay, will he testify?
I can basically proffer the testimony in the case. Mr. Prasad's been a licensee for the last 13 years on North Calvert Street. That particular venue that he had, Mercy Hospital, wound up buying, basically, he had 5 buildings there. He sold them all to Mercy. And he had a lease there that was supposedly for 4 years. Didn't give him the 4 years. Consequently, he's out of that location at this time. He's looking for another location. It looks like he may be put an application in on Pulaski. However, it was his last asset that he had, so he would request a hardship extension.
Is the lessor Mercy Hospital, where you are now?
He's not, he was there. You mean across the street from it?
He was across the street from Mercy Hospital.
Mercy. And then they took that one, and there was a little flower shop there.
Right,
A Jamaican restaurant. He had a lawyer who's going, and then a couple of them.
Right.
I think he owned all those buildings. He sold them all to Mercy, and they were supposed to give him a lease. It didn't come out.
Okay.
So consequently, they made him move out, and now he's looking for another location.
Yeah, I'm asking because I just remember there was another licensee with a similar situation with respect to Mercy Hospital. I just can't remember if it's the same
It
one
was
or not.
the one.
Same licensee.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, do you have any questions?
The question is, it appears that you've met the 180-day closed on December 20th for the record, 2016. The letter was submitted May 2nd. The deadline was June 18th, so it appears that it's.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Commissioner Jones, all right. Okay, based on the representations regarding the hardship and the difficulties with selling, and this being the last asset, I would approve the request for hardship extension.
I concur.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No exhibits.
Michael Bunger and Carolyn LaSalle, Diamond Gym Inc., trading as Diamond Lounge, 415 East Baltimore Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and Class AE adult entertainment license. Request for hardship extension. Please come forward.
Once again, Melvin J. Kineski for the licensee in this case. I'll proffer the testimony unless you.
Okay.
In this case here, I'd like to make one correction in your readout there. You have that the place was closed on February the 15th, 2017, where actually was closed on January 17th, 2017. As you look in your packet, you see the letter says that. Mr. Bunger had been down at this location for 23 years. He ran into a problem where it's just very difficult. He had problems with the landlord, the result of which he owes some money to the landlord, and he wants to try to sell the license and move on and probably retire. He's had some difficulty. There's a few prospective people, and we're just on the verge of possibly putting a license transfer in. This is, once he sells this asset, he will be out of the adult entertainment business. He'll be out trying to retire and do something else, so we request the hardship extension.
And the extension goes to both the adult license and the beer, wine, and liquor.
I don't know whether that applies or not, but yes, we ask for the same thing. I don't know if the 180-day rule applies to adult entertainment, but I'm not going to argue that
Well, it
point.
just can't go on forever, so it's got to have some limits. Okay, all right, does the other commissioner have questions?
None.
No?
No, sorry.
Okay, based on the representations regarding the hardship, I would approve the request for an extension.
I concur.
I concur as well, approving an extension, hardship extension for both the adult entertainment license and the liquor license.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
One more.
Is that it? Oh, yeah,
Edward- I'm
Parkville Bowling.
Edward Foreman, Brian Foreman, and Daniel Inu,
In your way.
In a way.
anyway, JBE Corporation, trading as Parkville Bowling Lanes, 7603-09 Harford Road. This is a Class D beer and wine license. Request for hardship extension. Please come forward.
For the record, again, Melvin J. Kineski representing the case. This is a representative of the landlord here who owns the shopping center. In this particular, I don't know if you've been over to the bowling. I don't know if you bowl or not.
Got a bad shoulder.
But it's, this bowling alley is in the basement of the shopping
A
center.
lot of them are.
Which has a nice pass because 60% of it's in the city and 40% in the county.
Oh, wow.
So you can start bowling in the city and get your strike in the county. But in any event, it's a beer and wine license here. It's been there for a long time. They had problems with leakage and a lot of damage was done to the building, as a result of which the current operator was going to sell and turn the license over to the landlord, and the landlord is now fixing the bowling alley, looking for a new operator. Therefore, they need the hardship extension so they can then finish their work and get a new operator in there.
I love bowling. I'm not very good at it, but the people that I bowl with are worse than me, so I actually enjoy it. Any questions?
None.
No? Okay. I bowl with my granddaughter, so it makes it easier. I approve the request for an extension.
I concur.
So your granddaughter's worse than you?
I doubt it.
No, my granddaughter is so much better than me. She is a terrific bowler. She's got lots of energy. She goes right down the middle. She knocks the pins down. She usually gets 10, 10, 10. Oh, this is not part of the decision, but my granddaughter is.
Well, why
I mean,
not?
I think they might, I mean, I just think, well, she's really good.
I too concur. I'm sorry I digress, but it was sort of a,
I asked the representative whether she volunteered for this job down there or whether she was conscripted to come in there.
Got
So-
short
but she
straw.
will be. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no exhibit, so we're off the record.
thank you.
Was this unanimous? All three supported? Okay.
sorry, it was my
Madam
fault.
Chair,
All
that
right.
concludes today's proceedings.
Well, just write down that Commissioner Moore's granddaughter is terrific, and you're good.
The board is in recess until June the 29th, 11 a.m., correct, Tom?
Peter.
Yeah. June the 29th, 11 a.m.
The judge.
All right. Thank you. Best of luck.